Hello, this is Deborah Cruikshanks, and Deborah is a musculoskeletal physiotherapist and is a mentor for the PBT program. We're here today as part of Back to Basics to discuss the value of the pelvis alignment.
Yeah, thank you, Marie. So I see the goal for any student as a functional pelvis alignment. So not just a rigidly held pelvis, but a pelvis that can move and adjust according to what movements the student wishes to perform. But there are certain alignments that the students must have control of to keep them safe. So we've asked Macy, who is going to demonstrate for us perfect alignment, which is where she spends all her time, and then imperfect alignment just for the purpose of demonstration. So Macy, if you would just face that wall there, standing in first position. So perfect alignment, just arms overhead to fifth for me, lovely alignment, and then back down, bra. Now, one of the first alignments we look at is that anterior posterior pelvic tilt, the ability that the student has to not let their pelvis drop forward or drop anteriorly, or those students who sit back. So we've asked Macy if you could just drop into an anterior tilt, let your tummy go. So this is an anterior tilt. We see it a lot in the younger students who perhaps haven't quite got control yet of the abdominal muscles. So the muscles that control this correct alignment, Macy, I'll ask you to correct back, are all four abdominals and the gluteus maximus and the hamstrings. So the glute max and the hamstrings are the hip extensors, all four abdominals working in the front to balance that pelvis. Could you just drop down again into that anterior tilt? So what injuries might we see here in students? You can see already that the lumbar spine is compressed. So if Macy was to do an attitude derriere or an arabesque, she's already in an extended compressed position. That would aggravate and increase the compression, and students will have discomfort. You can also see that sometimes it changes the kyphosis here, which makes it much harder to align the head over the neck, and it certainly locks up the port bras. In the front, we start to see some tight hip flexors. So the opposite of the anterior tilt is the posterior tilt, or when the student tucks under. Macy, can you try and tuck under for me? Yeah. So students who tuck under like this, they will also experience some groin pain, strain at the front of the hip in the capsule, the ligaments over the front of the hip. At the same time, occasionally the weight is too far back, so then the student is forced to lift the toes to try and bring their weight forward, and we can see some irritation in the shins as a result of that. So then this tuck under once more, Macy, you can see then the rounding of the kyphosis, the exaggerated kyphosis of the thoracic spine. Again, the neck is protracted, the arms can't move freely in a port bras. So this is quite detrimental to the aesthetics, but also will contribute to some injuries. Thanks, Macy. So just back to your normal, beautiful posture. Lovely, thank you. So one more, into anterior tilt and into posterior tilt and back to neutral, beautiful. You can see in neutral, the head is balanced now. The thoracic spine is aligned and lengthened and can now move freely. The lumbar spine isn't going to be compressed. The hips anteriorly are not compressed. This is a really nice position for students to start from on a nice functionally balanced pelvis in that anterior-posterior direction.
Exactly, and I can't tell you how many children that I've examined around the world that in their first demi-plie at the bar, they go into an anterior tilt. They believe that will give them more turnout. And, I look at that first demi-plie and I know exactly where that's going to continue into the centre. So cheating the turnout to aesthetically get more range is not going to be healthy for the body, putting a lot of pressure on those knees and ankles, and we want longevity in dance. So one of the ways in PPT we check that pelvic alignment is in the basic bridge, in both parallel and rotation. Now, I have examined all over the world for many years, and one of the most common things that I see in that first demi-plie is the pelvis tucking to fake turnout. So it's very important that we align the basic pelvic alignment. So I'm going to ask Macy to exhale and slowly inhale as we go up one vertebrae at a time and stretch the legs slowly. So obviously the glutes are naturally active to go up into the bridge. Right? You can see clearly that alignment there, the strength here in the back of the hamstrings, the pelvis, and the abdominals. All abdominals switch on to take them in the bridge. Then slowly melt down one vertebrae at a time and come back to soft legs. So unless they can do that basic pelvic alignment in the bridge, then don't move them into any harder exercise. It's all about basics to have longevity.